Thank you so much. Thank you, good man. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. It's completely amazing. I'm overwhelmed with the idea that finally I get to do a Hopkins in Hopkins event. Who gets to do that? I was coming here tonight in my little lift car, and we went past, what is that massive white thing with Hopkins written on it? Like a silo, or a grain silo, or some old water tower. There we go. And I was like, could you just stop the car a minute? Because that feels kind of important to me. Like, I get to tell my kids back home, oh yeah, they put this up for mummy because she was coming into town. Americans are like that. They're just really, really friendly. It's so nice to see you all. I'm just testing out where I can go with this mic before I get shouted at. Somewhere in the middle feels better, yes. And I've been staying for the last week in downtown Minneapolis. I asked Lonnie Lightner where I should stay. He told me downtown Minneapolis. Frankly, I'm glad Lonnie Lightner is sick right now. Vengeance is mine. It's very nice to see some regular and beautiful looking people here. Well done to all the beautiful people in the room. Lovely to see people who decided to marry outside of their own gene pool. It really does wonders for a room. It's been a tough old week down there, I can tell you. And Lonnie Lightner, as we said, is a very sick man today. I'm slightly scared that I may have personally killed Lonnie. Like I'm a bit of a petri dish of bugs, I would think, by this time. I've literally smeared myself on Americans from California to downtown Minneapolis, so I'm pretty sure I was the one that may have killed him should he die. If it turns out he gets a COVID test that is positive, though, we've never met him, we don't know who he is, we have no idea who that guy is, right? I've never known him. A couple of house rules that I thought we should just go through this evening, and those rules are that there are no goddamn house rules because we're sick of being told. No more rules. Yeah, exactly. Now I do need who in this room, please, and don't be shy tonight because this is all friends. So I will pick on you at random. Don't feel picked on. Don't feel in any way embarrassed by me. But who would think maybe they're the most sensitive person in the room? So what I'm looking for is a salt monitor. So sometimes I'm called a little salty because I'm British. Other people say that I swear like a sailor. That has happened. I'll try not to do that this evening. But what I need is someone to be the salt monitor in the room so they can put their hands up at any time they feel a little sensitive. Anybody volunteering? Amy, brilliant. You. Put your hand up so people know it's you. Excellent. So that lady just volunteered. She didn't know she did, but she did. To be the salt monitor. At any time that she feels things are getting a little too salty, she's going to stand up. If you feel that she's not doing a good enough job, you can blame her. Anyone that feels offended after the event, please go and see Amy because she was the one that was in charge. You see what I did there? I just deflected all that right off myself. Or if you would like more salt at any point, if you're nodding off or your neighbour has in fact nodded off, then you can shout more salt, and then the darkness will descend. I would encourage you all, of course, as we sit here, that part of our no rules is that you can do what you like with your neighbours, move closer, hug each other, kiss, with permission, of course, don't just do that randomly, I see you. Because we're all amongst friends. My name, for people that don't know, I'm getting the slight impression most people might do, is Katie Hopkins. I'm a straight, white, Christian, conservative, nationalist, patriot, mother, married, of 3 children. I'm proud of all those things. And where I come from, those are all involved in my stuff, but I'm proud of every single one of those things. I have been married a couple times before. You know, got to try things out, see where you get to. The lesson from my first marriage is, you know, you don't have to say yes just because someone asks you a question. And I learned that late in life. And I have been married, I guess, you know, nearly more times than Ilhan Omar, but like, unlike her, I just never married my own brother. I have 3 children under the age of 16. Most of my Muslim friends at Cedar Riverside now have 16 children under the age of 3. And I'm kidding, I don't have Muslim friends. Check my salt meter? No, she's still. You may know that British people are banned from America right now, so I'm officially not here. That becomes factual if Lonnie Knightley does have COVID. I'm definitely not here. We're banned, so it's one of the naughtiest things that Donald J. Trump has ever done, apart from marry Melania. I can't imagine what the attraction was there that he wouldn't have chosen me. Clearly he should have married me. Yeah, the naughtiest thing Donald Trump has done so far is ban British people from your country because of our terrible COVID record. Of course, all fabricated numbers, but you know, we're all on part of that same game. So he banned me from coming, and I thought, well, I'm not going to sit in the UK and watch this election overseas. I can't possibly. I was involved in the 2016 election in so much as that I was here cheering you all on then. I was at the RNC. I went on CNN and told them to their faces that yes, Trump would be winning and you could stick your polls up your arse because you're the Clinton News Network to their faces. And funnily enough, I've never been invited back on that show. So I know, it's so sad. And so I decided I need to be back amongst this fight. I just couldn't stay at home. So I had to find a way of getting here. And as I was looking for a way of getting here, so the things that I could do became less and less. You know, we're back in lockdown again now, severe lockdown in the UK actually. It's one of the reasons my marriage is going to endure lockdown, because I'm on the other side of the planet. I keep bumping into couples that are like, I am so sick of him. I'm so sick of her. And I'm like, why do you think I'm on the other side of the pond? To do without being on marriage number 3. My father said I'm out of the will if I get married again. I've got to behave myself. So anyway, I was trying to get in here, and then the list of countries, so it was like, no, you can't go to France now. No, you can't go to Spain. No, not Italy. No, not Portugal. And I'm like, how do I get there? How do I get there? And I found out that with 2 hormonal teenage daughters under the age of 16, the only place I could still go was 2 weeks in isolation in Barbados. Oh, it took me ages, 2.3 seconds to say yes, I'll go, I'll do that. And my husband said yes too, so off I fly to Barbados. Now at this point, I don't know how I'm getting into the States necessarily. There's a flight to LA at some point, but will it go? I don't know. So I land in Barbados, and when you get there, because you're a Brit and therefore you've got because all British people are, you know, have a really bad reputation for corona, you have to be tested at the airport. So literally in the airport terminal building, next to the baggage carousel, you have to be tested for COVID. Now, I'm sure we would all agree here, or certainly it's my personal opinion, that I will never have a COVID test, but if it involves me getting here to fight for Trump, I'll do whatever you say. You can shove what you like, where you like. If it means I can help fight for Trump, check the salt meter, no good. If the salt meter nods off, we're definitely going more salty, because I'm losing the room. So I go to this lovely Belgian gentleman. You just became him, I don't know why, because you sat there. Never sit in the front row with Katie Hopkins, you're all at risk, you're all up. It's okay, I've got a friend. I'm definitely picking on you in a minute. So, and the gentleman says to me, so 2 rules. It comes at me with all, you know, the blue thing on, the face mask, the visor, the gas mask, the everything else you need, whatever. And he said, number 1, you don't touch me. Number 2, you're going to sit on your hands. Now tell me the last time a medical professional that you were going to have a test with, of any nature, ladies, they told you that you have to sit on your hands and don't touch me. Did you ever try and touch someone in the medical profession without permission? So then he comes at me with this swab. Anybody here had a COVID test? No, oh, you had, some of you had, yeah, the smear thing, yeah. And so you'll have noticed that I have a fairly prominent nose. Don't you be laughing. You're supposed to pretend like you never even saw. And so I had said, you know, my father says that if you put me in the garden when it's sunny, you can use me as a sundial. Which is really weird when you think about it, because that is my father. And where do you think this nose comes from? My father. I know. So this man comes at me with this nasal swab. And of course I'm having a laugh because I'm me, and so I'm like, you're gonna need a longer swab than that, sunshine. So in he comes. I don't know, if you have had this done, you'll know why now. He said, you sit on your hands and you don't touch me, because the minute they get that swab and they stick it up into the bottom corner of your left eyeball, it feels, excuse me for what's about to happen to you, you're lucky it wasn't you. The only thing you want to do as a woman is grab there and twist to stop her doing that. So I had my COVID test at the airport, and now in Barbados you're allowed to go into isolation. 2 days in isolation, all on my own, and then you're allowed to move into the island and have another 14 days in quarantine. And you have to ring into the Health and International Centre of Wellbeing twice a day with your thermometer reading of your temperature, right? So I rang in dutifully twice a day because I'm still trying to get to America. I mean, I didn't actually, take my temperature reading. I just looked at the right answer in the range that you were allowed and told them that. Detail, right? So time goes on, and eventually I get the message from American Airlines, God bless their souls, telling me that my flight to LAX has been cancelled. No. Yeah, thanks. So they turned out to be JetBlue. I didn't even know people fly JetBlue. If you fly JetBlue, you have to actually physically put your arms out the plane and flap. I don't mind, I'll do anything to get to America. So I'm on the JetBlue flight and I get to JFK. Now I'm on the wrong side because it's the only flight to America. Doesn't matter, I'll go into Democrat territory if I have to. I land in JFK. Now I guess you guys don't really have to go through your immigration that much, but you've probably done immigration in other countries. The Disneyland lines. Can some American explain to me why you make me do this when I have to come? Because honestly, it doesn't make me feel any better that the queues are still really long. It doesn't make me feel like they're any shorter. It never did at Disney either. This is how I spent most of my life in America, if I'm honest with you, especially at LAX. That's 5 hours of this. I love your country, but sometimes. And the only other thing about this, of course, is it means that when I've gone at you that time round, it means that it's not very long till we're going to pass each other again and we go again, right? Anyway, I better be careful of this, yes. I'm just grabbing my drink. Seriously, how big are American drinks? God, it's bigger than my bloody head. And it's bigger than my nose. And I told you not really think. Jennifer, when I said, oh, Jennifer, can I get a sweet drink, sugar? And Jennifer goes to get this. I said, I asked for a drink, not a bloody swimming pool.
It's illegal in New York.
What? Hold on, where's my heckler? Say it, sir.
Illegal in New York City.
Why is this illegal in New York City? Who came up with that? Bloomberg. You know why, don't you? Because given the size of his member, anything bigger than 2 inches is pretty friggin' low. Soul monitor. Soul monitor. Oh, soul monitor. Oh! Oh, what do we say to the soul monitor? We're going to so victimise the soul monitor tonight. This has become a new tool that I'm loving. Any speech I do going forwards, I'm definitely picking a soul monitor. Anyway, we're back to immigration. If I ever get lost, someone here, sensible, remember where I was, right? I was at immigration. You're now in charge of bookmarking my brain, because this could go anywhere. In fact, you may not get out of here tonight. Are you getting that? You could be in here for the long haul. Who's got a watch on the front row? No one? Who's got a watch? You have. Okay, we'll come to you for time in a bit. Yeah. Okay.
When's your flight tomorrow?
Are we all going to stay together? I'd like that. So I'm at immigration and I'm thinking, right, it's time to pick someone that's going to let me into America. So I am not going to pick, this isn't personal, I'm not going to pick the lesbian lady who looks like she votes Democrat. I'm not going to pick the individual that could be trans, but I'm not sure. And I'm not going to pick anybody that look like they might be vegan. What I'm looking for really, essentially at this point, is somebody who looks like they might kill someone for a living. Because that's all of our side, right? That's the best people. That's a Trump supporter right there. I met some yesterday in Northfield. are those boys? Oh, anyway, back to immigration. So I pick this guy that looks like he would kill someone for a living, and I go to him with I've been in Barbados, but here's my negative COVID test result, and here's my letter from Congressman Louis Gohmert to back me to come into this country. Love him, and here's my media visa, and here's my blah, 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 and I'm going to work, and shibbity wop, and blah, 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 and he goes, welcome home. And I got into America. I tell you, I cried my little eyes out, and then I don't admit to anybody else, don't tell anyone I cry. Right? I'm the biggest bitch in Britain. That's it. No emotion, ball breaker, good. No. So I get to the baggage carousel. What do you call that? Luggage carousel? Baggage? Yeah. Your language is crazy. So I'm there, and I'm like, I did it! I got it! I'm in America! I did it! I made it! I got it! I got into America! And then I realised I look like a drug smuggler who just got heroin into your country. And I was like, oh, the sniffer dog's about to arrive to come and check me out, so I'm going to play this a bit cooler at this point. So that was me breaking back into America so that I could join this fight to get Donald J. Trump 4 more years. And it's been really nice, actually, because a lot of Brits are like, how did you do that? Or I've got a girlfriend over there, how do I get there? So I'm trying to help other people find a system, but I think without that media visa and certain other things, you're not going to make it. But having broken back in now, things have changed quite a lot, and in many different ways. I thought I was here because I would help, somehow fight for Trump. I didn't know what I would be doing. I had some events planned in California, but I didn't know how that would be. But as it turns out, it's become something really rather different, something much more like this here, which is gathering people and giving people a reason to gather. And for us to be delighted, actually, simply by being in each other's company, and to remember how it feels to be like this, and to look around and know that it's okay. And that if you choose to still wear a mask or whatever, that's also fine, because our side doesn't judge and our side doesn't mind what choices you want to make. But if you want to be amongst people or give them a cuddle or, rub up against them with their permission, don't need to get any of that business this evening, that's what our side is. And that's what's happened since I've been here. It's been the gathering of people that have brought joy, and they come into a room and you see them, they look round, 250 people in a backyard in Outer Loma, Rancho Cucamonga, I can't say it properly, but see their little faces when they walked into the backyard and see 250 people all happy to see each other. One of the things we think happened under lockdown, we think that they made us wear a mask, we think that they shut that business, told us you can't do that. No, we're going to close that down. There's the curfew now. No, you won't go there. No, you can't have that. That isn't actually what they took from us. What they took from us is what our side does, really best of all. And that's really enjoy being around each other, being around other humans, filling each other up with that feeling of well-being, of wanting the best for each other. That's actually what they tried to take from us, and it's what we're starting to get back. I think it's so important. Just listening at the back of the room earlier, when John was talking, John talked for a very short amount of time. That is a record for Mr. Gilmore, I can tell you right there. When John was talking, just listening to everybody, the chatter of people, that's the most beautiful and brilliant thing that we have when we gather like this. And that's what this has been about. One of the things people ask me quite a lot is, have you always been like this? It's a really hard question to answer, actually, because when you look at yourself, you're like, well, I don't know, what is this? But people, I think what they mean is, have you always been this kind of way? And whatever that is. And I suppose there's a yes to that. There's a, I believe we're at a point now in America and all over the world, actually, where the time for asking permission is over. And the time for waiting to be told an answer to a question you shouldn't even be asking is through. Yeah. And I believe it's time we stop abiding by rules that actually have no explanation and are not relevant to our lives. It's time for us to be politely defiant to those things. So that's the core of where I'm at. We love law and order, but we, the people, invest the power in other people to make rules that we believe are credible and valid, and that time has passed. Have I always been like this in this kind of fighting against? I think yes. I always wanted to fight for my country. So I went through university, studied economics. I was sponsored there by the Intelligence Corps. My father said I had somebody else's application and place. And then from university, I went off to the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst. I don't know why I'm physically demonstrating that as if I went to ballet school. It didn't work, did it? I went to the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, and to become an officer in the British Army, an Intelligence Corps officer. I guess the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, is like your West Point, but just, you know, better. And yes, I know. I'm pushing my luck. You're my friends, it's okay. And went through there. So I was one of 30 girls that started, the one platoon of girls amongst all the boys, Blenheim platoon. They called us the Lumpy Jumpers. Some of our lumps were rather more disappointing than others, I think. And I emerged from there as one of 8 girls that made it through that course and passed up the steps and signed up for a 35-year regular commission in the British Army. And it's a proud thing that I was part of that, and my love for our forces, your forces, is very true. I will just point out I didn't actually serve all those 35 years. Some people introduce me when I do radio and TV like, oh, she served 35 years. I'm like, are you kidding me? Do I look under 85? But the other thing that gets me going when I'm a little bit tired at American airports is the way that you still respect your military personnel. Can I get a hands up, anybody that served in their forces here or the police? Thank you very much for your service. I'm very sorry that it's not something we have in my country anymore. But here, the respect you have for your military personnel is absolutely overwhelming. So the last time I lost it at an airport is because you guys still welcome your service personnel to board first on an airplane. And I'd been travelling for quite a number of hours. I think I was a little bit overtired, and I just burst into tears. And people were like, what's wrong? Are you okay? Something happened. I was like, you just let your military personnel board first. They looked at me like, yeah, that's what we do here. Whereas, of course, in my country, our soldiers have to take off their uniforms before they leave a base. They can't wear them in the street because they will be attacked. And you'll know we just lost another member of our forces recently macheted to death in the street. So we're in a hard place in that regard. Anyway, so the reason I had to leave the forces, and it will always be something I'm sad about, and maybe even a little ashamed about, even though the reason I had to leave was I'm also epileptic, or at least I was, some of you will know. And I thought there was a possibility I was epileptic before I went into the forces, but I was determined to go. I believed that if I proved that I was physically capable enough, and I was good enough, and I served hard enough, that I would be better than my condition, and that they would allow me to carry on. And it turns out, you know, now I'm a little bit older, a bit wiser, sort of the wisdom of hindsight. I can see now that an epileptic with seizures and a semi-automatic weapon might not have been my finest idea. And so eventually I had to be medically discharged. But I think that's where this fight comes from. And I think it's why I still have the privilege of feeling like I still get to do that today. From leaving the military, I went into corporate life. I joined a firm that was made up of all ex-military personnel. We were in Corporate Street, and we were teaching kind of principles of military command, mission command, into business, so to try to get people to be more effective in their strategy. I was based in Manhattan. I worked on Madison for about 5 years. And I lived in the East Village, and I'm still straight. That doesn't happen. That's defying all convention. In fact, I tried that yesterday. I was reporting back from the rally that we had in Northfield, and I was saying, because obviously I get mocked for my looks a lot, you know, it's the tactics of the other side, isn't it? And sometimes being self-deprecating, it's quite a British thing, yeah. So when I was doing the rally, I was like, we are going to turn, I have managed to turn straight men gay, so I can turn Minnesota red. Yeah, right? But then I've spent the rest of today trying to explain that joke, because like Minnesotans are like, you will not do that, we love our families and we love our church, and I was like, no, it's a joke about my appearance. Anyway, so I'm living on Madison. That was nearly a bookmark moment. I nearly had to come back to you for where I was. I was living on Madison and living in the East Village, working on Madison, and I watched this amazing program on the TV in America called The Apprentice. And there was this really good guy that was like running it, and he had this big swathe of red, orange hair. And I thought, oh, he's splendid, isn't he? He makes decisions very quickly, he gets rid of useless people, he decides who he wants in a job. Yes, I love this guy. And so, a couple of years later, I went back to the UK to have my 2 girls, and I saw an advert, a sort of commercial for the British Apprentice. And I thought, oh, I'll apply for that. I've watched the American version, it was great, I'd probably be okay on that show. Now, it turns out the British Apprentice is not like the American Apprentice. The British Apprentice I would describe as a crap version of the American show. There is no Donald J. Trump with his swathe of orange hair. There is no fabulous job at the end. In fact, I'd argue there's no job at all. There's just a notion of a thing. The candidates, I would suggest, are rather less impressive. And worst of all, the gentleman that is the Trump, he's this guy, and he's called Lord Sugar, Sir Alan Sugar. Yes, Lord Sugar. Now, you'll notice I'm already gesturing in a way that suggests where we're going to go with this. I've never been a fan of short people. And Lord Sugar is short. In fact, he's nipple height. Which is about the height you're sat at, isn't it? He's the same height as Dr. Fauci. I think that tells you everything we need to know. So I thought I'd come out somewhere in the middle, looking like the kind of, oh, she's kind of good, and she was fine, and she's kind of a good egg. It's a British expression, a good egg, a bon oeuf. And people would think, oh, she was all right. Instead, I got to the end of the whole process and got offered my place in the final. Now listen, I'm not going to work for a guy that's at my nipple height. That can't happen. And so I had to fire the boss. So I fired Lord Sugar, which would be the American equivalent of firing Donald Trump, except that wouldn't happen because he's great. And I would never fire Donald Trump. So I fired the boss, and that's when I became known. I became, 6 million people watched that, and I became the person that fired Lord Sugar. And before I knew it, of course, I was back on TV with an opinion on pretty much everything, because I have an opinion on pretty much everything. And I have never really been one to have the ambition of being liked. So it was always my view, and it's still my view, actually, that here's my opinion. I don't need you to have the same opinion as me. I don't actually need you to like my opinion either, but I'm going to tell you what it is. And I will also listen to yours if you want to tell me what your opinion is. And we could still actually go for a drink together if our opinions were completely opposite. That would also still be fine. I think that's a fundamental thing about our side, right? I would love it if I was going to a Democrat thing or a Democrat speech, or I could bring them all in here just to sit and listen, because they'd realise really quickly we're actually all pretty much the same and all on the side of something really quite similar if we just let it all go. So, we'll come to this in questions. But what I'm trying to say is there's some good people who think they're Democrats who could easily come sit with our side. Not all of them, but yeah. So oh my goodness, now I'm nearly losing where I am, but I'm going to find it. I'm looking to my bookmark, but I'm back. It's okay, we'll get there. We'll get our way through this. We'll meander our way through this thing, I can tell you. So I get out of the back end of this program, and now I'm on TV, and now I have opinions on everything. And some of those are about mothering. I have 2 girls at this point, and I find that there is a slight bullying that goes on with new mothers. There's a lot of other mothers that want to tell mothers how they should mother, or you must breastfeed. You know, there's this ridiculous saying, like, breast is best. Just because it rhymes, is that it? You know, because like speedo rhymes with pedo, and none of those are not good things. People come up with crap just to make mothers feel bad because they can, because it's a little power trip for the perfect mothers. And I had an opinion about school gate mothers that didn't work, turned up to drop their children off at school in their pyjamas. It'd be nice if you got dressed in the morning now, wouldn't it? I mean, I appreciate under COVID no one gets dressed anymore any day of the week. I became that woman. I am quite annoying as well, I see that. I put my money where my mouth is, it's kind of why I'm stood here, I guess. But under socialised healthcare, I'm sure you'll appreciate, it means that I get to pay for other people's health decisions and the lack thereof. And I'm not actually that happy about that. I don't mind at all if you want to be an alcoholic, if you want to be a drug addict, if you want to eat yourself to death. It's not my business, frankly. But under socialised healthcare, it is my business because I'm going to be expected to pay for it. And one of the things I've always been very positive and upbeat about is the need for us to feel good about ourselves and how that relates to being either slightly too large or not. To prove this point, which came out as being kind of fat people are lazy, but I think that's a little bit of that's a summary we don't need to go down. But people always said to me, you're lucky to be thin. You're lucky to be thin. And I was like, well, if we all eat a bit less and move a bit more, you can be thin too, or you can lose weight as well. And I put on half my own body weight, 50 pounds, in 3 months, and then I lost it again to prove that that could be achieved. Yeah, the pictures are out there and they're not pretty. I thought I would put 50 pounds on here, and it was going to be fabulous. I've never really had boobs, and I imagined wiggling them in people's faces. I had it all planned. I was going to get new underwear, it was going to be really exciting. I had it all lined up. And instead, 50 whole pounds went on here, in one gigantic thing. I could no longer see my feet. There were bits of me I hadn't reconciled with for a long time. So I had this huge thing, and I couldn't tell anybody what I was doing because it was for a TV program, we were filming it as well. I got sent flowers for a baby that I wasn't having. I got given first place in line in the bathroom for a baby I wasn't even having. That happened. So I was that woman. I was that level of annoying. If I wanted to say something and prove my point, I was going to prove it, and I was going to be that most annoying woman. And hence I became known as the biggest bitch in Britain. And that's where I got that title from being annoying. Now, after this point, I started to have I had my column on Daily Mail, Mail Online, most read online paper. I had my radio show, LBC radio show on a Sunday, to show Nigel Farage had after me when I got kicked off, and he's just been kicked off as well, so they got rid of both of us now. But the point is that at some point I became probably one of the best known female faces, commentators, show hosts, whatever in the UK. And at that point, I started to realise that I couldn't really carry on just talking about stuff about mothers or breastfeeding or why I could lose weight if I wanted to or the trivia. I started to see there was much more going on in my country that mattered, things that were actually important. People would send me emails and letters asking me to talk about this thing because no one else would talk about it. I started to see what was happening to my country. Started to see it being overwhelmed by people who didn't really want to belong to my country at all, but were rather more interested in taking it over. Received emails from elderly people telling me they're glad their time is nearly up, so they don't have to watch their country fall. Makes me shiver every time. You know, and the more I saw that, the more I put my money where my mouth was in a different way. So I went and slept at the Calais migrant camp called the Jungle in France. What you learn when you're there in the jungle, in the migrant camp, most people won't go there obviously, is that all the different groups that come to join us, we have this idea of the American dream, don't we? We have this idea that when migrants come to join us, that they want to start again, a new life in the melting pot. You know, those are the sort of old ideas of it. But this isn't the case at all. All of those migrants in the jungle, they bring all their old animosities with them. And they're completely separate. Even in this small 2-mile square area, there's the Afghan area, and the Afghans don't speak to the Eritreans, who hate the Syrians, who don't want anything to do with this lot over here, and the women are completely separate, and there are no children around, really. I met one lady who was smuggling her small daughter in. I met them by the side of the road late at night when they were trying to jump onto the lorries that they ripped their way on, and she had her little girl dressed as a little boy, because if she dressed her as a girl, she was frightened that the girl would be taken by the men. So I went to those places. I crossed the Med with the migrants coming across from Libya to the coast of Italy. I've gone to the no-go zones in Sweden to report from there just after Trump highlighted the problem in Sweden, and the media said there was no problem to speak of. I would love to get the hand of any of those people who said there was no problem to speak of and ask them to walk with me through those no-go zones. I'd like to see how long they spent in those places, because those are now terrifying places. My country, it is over for my country. We are outnumbered. And by 2030, Muslim births outnumber births to all other. By 2040, we are a complete minority. I'm already a minority as a white female, as a white British national actually, a white British national. I'm a minority in London, Luton, Birmingham, Bradford, Leicester, Newcastle. The list goes on and on. All of the boroughs of London, all of those 5 areas that make up London are all 70–80% Muslim majority. And if you think about it, that's exactly the same model they're trying here, and exactly the same model you see foisted on other cities. I think Chicago is another good example, horrible example. Flood the central zone with migrants, particularly Muslim migrants, or those who will vote with the left or the Democrats. Take power by taking it out the centre, and make the nationals in the rest of the territory voiceless. And that's precisely what some of the boys said to me yesterday in Northfield. Minneapolis MSP doesn't speak for us, but they appear to speak for us. And it's the same, look at the same road, the same playbook used all over the globe, coordinated at such a sophisticated level and at such a high level of strategic play to coordinate the long-term takeover of a country by underpinning, by digging out the very scaffolding, by digging out the very foundations of a country. Imagine the power and foresight that that takes. And that's true for my country. And what we see, of course, is that people are on the move. There is a new wave of people moving, Jewish families moving out of Paris and London, making Aliyah, going back to Israel, a new place to call home. British people, a lot of British Christians, white British Christians, we are looking to Hungary and to Poland, because unlike the rest of Europe, Hungary and Poland would not let their countries fall. They made an absolute stand. They are very so amazing. They stood up, the Law and Order Party they're called, and they said, we will not build a single mosque. We will not take a single migrant. We will not bow down to Islam. We will defend our borders. And when Angela Merkel, the leader of Germany, she said, yeah, good, oh, I like this, we've got panto. I dressed as Cinderella, actually, did you notice? That's what my husband calls this dress. Like I said, other side of the pond. Angela Merkel stood when those migrants were all coming. Do you remember that flood of migrants into Europe? And she said, wir schaffen das. We can do this. Thing is, she never actually asked us if we wanted to. And when she did that, Poland and Hungary sent their armies to their borders. It was really exciting. Then the other thing they did, which was a little bit naughty, but was particularly Hungarian and Polish in nature, they equipped their army with pigs on strings. it couldn't be reported too much because everybody was too outraged, but they patrolled the borders with pigs on strings. So I'm just thinking in terms of future tactics. For America, it's a possibility, but there will come a day where we will retreat to defendable space. Poland and Hungary looks very likely as being that. It even is shaped a bit like a heart on a map. And that, I think, is where we will create a Christian stronghold from which we will re-emerge in time. But that's certainly where my country is, and it's the reason, actually, that I am here, for all my convoluted explanation, is that you matter to us so much. You are part of our hope as well, and you are the reason that if we look to you and to the 64 million Americans that voted in 2016 and the 80 million Americans that are going to bring a landslide this time, we look to you for hope as well. And I wanted to say, I speak for no one but myself, and I'm very, very clear about that. But there are so many British people who are with you, and you can't hear us, and we're sorry for that. We're sorry for our Muslim mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, and that revolting balloon thing, blimp thing that he flew of Donald Trump or whatever. That matters not. I just wanted to say we're sorry for that, many of us. That is not who we are. And good British people who live in a great little place called the rest of the UK really do stand with you, and we are really part of you. So please don't mistake us for downtown Minneapolis. That isn't us, and it upsets us that that's the way we're portrayed. So, to my mission here and travelling around, one of the glorious things, so starting off in California, has been just the reaction of people, the willingness of people like your good selves to spend time that you could be doing other things in, coming out to be together. In Redlands, we had a memorial to John Lewis. That was actually a Tea Party gathering of patriots, 250 people in the room. And it was great. And there were people stood at the back of the room. Where was I next? We had, they called it a political protest. And so we had little protest signs on the tables and things so that we were ready, 100 people each day there. And then in Murrieta, a church where Pastor Tim Thompson has kept his church doors open this whole time, and he has refused to close down his church. He would fit right into Northfield, actually. He's a biker, he's a gun-toting pastor. He turned up at church the other day with a t-shirt with paedophile hunter on. I was like, yeah, this is a pastor I can... I get this guy, he's good. And then we went out for lunch somewhere else with some people that we needed to bring into the church, and he had Pitbull for Jesus. Fantastic. And because he's kept his doors open, his church has increased 5-fold, and he has to do 4 services a day on a Sunday just to get all the people through the door. I mean, can you imagine the joy of that place? And my big push is that he should be given the church of a pastor that refuses to open his doors. He should be given the big church of someone who doesn't have his spine or his moral courage. You know, this is the time for Pastor Tim to be rewarded for his endeavour. He stood at his church and he says, I bend the knee for no government. Government does not tell me what to do. I bend the knee for no one but Jesus Christ. That, to me, is our guide. And then even surprising things, so like my Lyft drivers and Uber drivers, they've really been the ones that have been like, we have had enough of this. I got a Lyft driver up to the George Floyd Memorial the other day, because I wanted to do some filming there. And I spoke to the driver, and he was telling me he was a service personnel previously. He was saying, this city has had enough. We can't take any more. We simply can't take, and you could feel the tiredness in him, you know, as he dropped me off. And I think that's why I also take heart, because we have those people with us. How are we doing on time?
You're doing well.
I'm doing well?
Yeah,
You're saying 5 minutes? Oh, you've got no chance, sweetheart. But nice idea. No, I will. We will move along, I swear. Like I said, I couldn't keep you here all night. Because, You guys are kind. So, you know, the guy, you could feel the tiredness in him, that he is so done with it. I went today, I texted you to say I'm running a little bit late because I needed to intervene on the street in downtown. Some ladies were trying to eat lunch outside, and a gentleman, a black gentleman, who obviously thought there was new rules, went up and took the food from their plates and started stuffing it into his face. That seems to be the mentality now, that new rules apply. That means you can act like an animal, frankly. And so I needed to just point out to him that whilst I was around, that wouldn't be happening anymore, and I moved him on his way. I felt for those ladies, though, because the ladies looked scared, and that's not what you shouldn't be scared on your own streets with food that you paid for. You don't deserve to be scared. That's not where we're at. And I wanted to tell you about quickly about the US, so let me get this right, United States Postal Service, USPS. I went in, I had to post a parcel, and there was a guy behind the counter, blue hair in a mohawk like this. It probably wasn't that high, like it wasn't... It's quite hard to do that with a mic. I can't. Anyway, so he had blue hair, and I was like, right, it's a Democrat, be nice, you know, be best behaviour, don't say anything about Trump, don't say anything about Trump, don't say anything about Trump. Don't be Katie, be normal, be normal. I don't know what I'm doing here. I think I'm walking in the postal queue. I don't really know what this is, but we're doing it, so we'll just keep going. Okay, good. So now I'm at his thing, and we're sorting out me posting the parcel, blah, 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 blah. I've got my mask on because I'm respecting him. He's got his mask on, and his visor, and the rest, and his gloves, and whatever else. So next to me, in the next booth, in comes this lady. Now it turns out, I need a piece of paper, hold on. So that next to me in the booth there comes a lady, and it turns out because of lockdown, I think we'll all have felt this actually sometimes, people have been a little bit less respectful than they might otherwise be. Yeah. You know, people, my parents, have, you know, they start to lose their a bit, right? They sort of get worked up about small things that maybe otherwise you wouldn't. Have you noticed that in your partner? If he does that again, I'm gonna kill him. Right. My husband the other day was tidying the cutlery drawer. If he doesn't stop tidying that cutlery drawer, I'm gonna kill him. Anyway, sorry, just getting that off my chest. Quite therapeutic doing this. Can we do this again in a couple of weeks? Because it's doing me a lot of good, yeah. In fact, we might actually do it again, yeah. Anyway, back to story, quickly. She's going, oh God, are you coming at me? Good. Maybe it's time to take the jacket off, she'll be scared. I am going to get to this story now. Right. Okay, the jacket's off. Now she can see the guns, she'll be scared. Yeah. So I'm at the post office, we're back at the post office, good, done my marriage counselling, excellent. And a lady comes through, and bear in mind, so guy, blue hair, Democrat, Katie, behave. Lady comes in, and she clearly has had this that did not get posted in the manner that she wanted it posted. And boy oh boy was she going to tell that little Asian lady behind the counter what she thought of her. So I'm watching next to her, and she's... So, my mask comes down. Madam, I'm going to need you to respect the staff of the United States Postal Service, or, madam, I'm going to need you to leave. She left. And that's the great thing about the British accent, right? I can get away with so much stuff here. When I want something in America, I go so British you can't even believe I'm virtually the Queen. I'm so sorry, I've totally forgotten my card. Is that really naughty? Can you cut me another one? And I get one. So anyway, so now I've got rid of her from the, and I actually genuinely think that's correct. You shouldn't be disrespectful to somebody in a store just because you're having a bad day because of lockdown rules that we know are no sense at all, and you probably voted Democrat. Like, suck it up, right? So I look back to my gentleman with his blue hair. I went, I'm sorry about that. I thought that was important. And then I went, oh, and I forgot my mask. And he went, actually, I don't believe in this mask stuff either. And now, of course, now I've been given permission. So I'm like, yeah, well, actually, I'm here because I support Donald J. Trump, and I'm here to get him 4 more years. And he goes, I support Donald J. Trump too, and we are going to get 4 more years. That's been the story of my travels. It's the surprising gentleman. I'm at fault for underestimating him as a Democrat. He taught me a lesson about the willingness of people to do the right thing for this country. And let me briefly just give you the parallel from the UK. We were told we weren't allowed to have Brexit. You can't have Brexit. Only stupid people vote for Brexit. Deplorables. You're just ignorant and racist, and you can't have it. They even mailed every single one of us through our letterboxes and told us the right answer was Remain. And what did we do? 17.4 million people voted Brexit, and we are going to leave Europe. Yes. What did you do? You can't have Trump. Oh, it's 98% Clinton. Oh, it's definitely going to be Clinton. Oh, it's so going to be Clinton. What did you do? 64 million great Americans came out and voted Donald J. Trump. Same again, same parallel path. So this is the example that matters now. 12th of December, Boris Johnson's not getting anywhere with Brexit. He knows he can't get it through because we're swamped up to the eyebrows, and he goes back to the people for a vote. He says, I need you to give me the power to get Brexit done. And people that had voted Labour, so Democrat, Bernie, Corbyn, in our country it's red, but people that had voted Democrat all their lives, their grandfathers' voted Labour, the old working class Labour, you know, the pits, the mines. They came out and they voted with Boris Johnson because it was the right thing to do for the country. And that's what's going to happen in America this time. I am sure of it. People are going to come out. You know, Donald Trump talks about making America great again. I'm certain that this election, I'm sure I should be campaign manager, that, but also I'm certain this election is going to be about making people feel great again. We want to feel great about our country and about our way of life and who we are, right? So I feel like it's been a learning adventure. People have taught me well. The gentleman in the post office has taught me well. There are things that separate America from the UK. Those things are clear. You have your faith, one nation under God. The Democrats may choose to remove it from their convention, but we're very clear about our faith. And I think Pastor Tim Thompson and his church and his congregation, 5 times as big, in a matter of weeks, because people are hungry for what is the values of this country now. This is not politics. You have family, you know. The family that you have extends way back into Europe. If I could do an analogy of it, we're pushing. We want you to get there. We want this to work. We want Trump to get in. Your family is just huge. And you have your freedoms that are written into the most brilliant book ever written. I've got 2 of them sitting on my table back where I'm staying in downtown, thanks Lonnie. I read them just to drown out the sounds of gunfire at night. It's not a joke. My husband even said, "What is it? Are there always sirens where you are?" And I was like, "Yeah, there are. It's not a joke." Because of your Second Amendment, you still have your First. And that really, when I come from a place where we don't have that, people self-censor at the point of even thoughts. You know, I've been arrested, I've been, they've taken my jobs, my home, they come from my children, they came from my head. They come for you, but you still have yours because of your constitutions. You have innate freedoms that we'll never have. And I am still, even though I can't, and my police and our don't carry weapons on our street. I can't have a weapon. But I'm still a fully signed up member, a paid up member of the NRA, because I respect your rights to bear arms. We should all have that right. I mentioned yesterday I have a car bumper sticker. And my car bumper sticker, most car bumper stickers for mothers, you know, it's like baby on board, or unicorns forever. Mine says guns don't kill people, but are willing to. I think it helps keep other people away. I've been down on the range, and the beautiful thing about being on the range is that, A, it's full of people who will also kill people. That's a very good thing indeed. But secondly, all of the cabinets are empty. There's no ammunition that you can buy because people are preparing. Because we know that when Donald J. Trump does get 4 more years, the next day they will try to raze this country to the ground. And over the next couple of weeks, I also see it's my mission to try and help people prepare for that. I spoke to someone earlier up at Redland, said, you're still preparing? He goes, yes, we just got the cannons set. The cannons. Sounds like my kind of place. So that's why you're different from us, and that's why there isn't hope for my country, but there's so much hope for yours, because you have your faith, you have your family, and you have your freedom. You know, when I was at Sandhurst, we served under the motto, serve to lead. So you would serve your men, 30 of them, 30 men under you. It's not, I can hear my husband going, that's not appropriate, is it? It's so tiring being a grown-up, isn't it? Serve, right, serve to lead, good, sensible, army, yes. And, but I think that Israeli special forces have it better, you know. They say, follow me, as they go into the heart of the thing. And that's what I think we're all doing, and I think that's what this very much is now. Is that when people gather together, like the American Freedom and American Majority, and make an event like this, we come along to show other people that this will be okay. It's going to be okay, and tomorrow you'll all be okay as well. I bloody hope Lonnie is, otherwise we're all screwed. And that when we meet good people, big men with weapons in cornfields, we should A, stay longer than we ought, but B, that we should follow them too. You know, follow the goodness of people, follow the people that want the best for this country, follow people that want to make people feel great again. And I think finally we all know that when Donald J. Trump says, follow me, we all say, let's go. Thank you very much for listening to me. I appreciate it.